Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, I'll be doing my round 6 review of Carlton vs St Kilda. So before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into the video. So as you can see here, Walsh carried his side 48 in the first, 28, 29, 26. He has an active streak of 24 games of 25 touches or more, which would indicate at least his minimum points is going to be at least probably 70 or so in each game that he plays. So he's a really, really good option, I think. So that's an option for people if they're in upgrade season yet. But because of the injuries we're taking constantly to a lot of our guys, I don't think people are in upgrade season yet. Then you have Shearer here, 130, Akers, 126. Cripps 126, Newman 119, and Mackay 110. All went huge, but did it really matter? Not really, because St Kilda won the game. So Mackay took something like 14 marks, but he's so inconsistent you can't pick him. Newman's had, if we look here, Newman, he's averaging 90, and he's just been sort of inconsistent for his price, so I wouldn't be picking him. Cripper's been inconsistent, but is finding a way back to it. Averaging 100 now, so he isn't the worst choice now, I'd say, because he's finally found his way into the season. But yeah, he's had a couple of bad games that seems to me when he gets tagged, if he finds it hard to get the disposals needed for the fantasy score, where he can't make it up in tackles, basically, even though he is a bigger body midfielder. So it is quite a weird one. I think this game was also the fact that he didn't get any marks through the tag that he really struggles with. So I would say no to Cripper at the moment. Akers is way too inconsistent. Shearer is the same thing, is way too inconsistent. And so Walsh would be the only guy out of Carlton that I'd be saying out of these top guys to be getting. Curnow did alright, but misses quite a lot too. Not get the score that Mackay gets, plus he doesn't push up the ground as much. Wiedering, Kennedy, Hewitt just didn't get involved in the game as much as the other guys, so they sort of took a back seat. Then you have Fisher again doing pretty well, and then Cincotta is a guy that I think we all have to get in. Does he have midfield status? Why did I type that in? He has defender midfield status, so that is perfect, I reckon, for just sitting in this hole here that will be created through Cam Mackenzie. And then, so that's basically the options that I'm going to go for, is Cam Mackenzie to Rochelle or Cam Mackenzie to Cincotta, and bank a whole load of cash if that is the case that I can't get Rochelle, because that'll bank me like 450k, but that'll allow me to next week pull the trigger on Cam Minty up to someone absolutely huge. So that is the plan, basically, or to go Cowan up to someone absolutely huge next week, or I could just play Cincotta here and then put Wilmot in the midfield here. That could be a play as well to get my players into the positions that I want them in, and not try and not have like only two defenders, two forwards, or two midfielders. I want those to have three of each, sort of, so I can easily manipulate my bench. But Cincotta is definitely on the radar, especially because he's going to have probably a -8, -9 break even, and if he goes 70 again, you're missing out on 70, 80k of cash gen. So to be able to get a guy in Mackenzie who's going to have a bad break even off for Cincotta is huge, I would say. And I know other people will be jumping on him, but at least I was able to get cash gen out of Mitchell, and hopefully he stays another week, because the next week is the big week for his cash gen. He's going to be like a -10, -15, because he's got two big scores, whereas Cincotta is going to be probably -10. So those two are the big guys that you got to get in for cash gen at the moment. And I'm hopeful because a lot of people failed on JJ, who's concussed. Jonas just had a terrible score. And then you have like Cow and Wilmot both failed. Roberts got injured. Johnson failed as well. Another guy that was touted to go in. Who else? A lot of people failed with their picks, so I'm pretty happy with what I've done. The only thing better would have been getting Sin Cara and playing him over Mitchell. But Sin Cara, I guess, isn't going to have the big price rise, so it probably was the right way around to actually do it in this order that I'm going to do it. Holland, Young, McGovern, Silvani, Pitnet. The only difference would be is that if the only downside in the plans that I've made this week really is if getting Sin Cara would have allowed me to definitely get Rochelle. But I still just want the cash gen as much as possible at this point because I'm climbing up the ranks massively and a lot of people are going with injury problems. So if I can save as much cash at the moment and still be climbing up the ranks, it's huge. So Hollands did really well again. A huge score from him, huge break-even breaker, I guess. And if we look at Holland here, this 44 is coming out of his system. So if you actually think about it, he's going to have a break-even of around 40, I reckon, for next week. 40, 45 for next week. And that'll be at, what, roughly 450k, I'd say. 445, 450k for Hollands. And that'll get him, he might get towards that 500k quite quickly here and be one of the best rookies. Not only just in terms of ability and the way he's played this year, but in terms of fantasy this year for rookies, as he's one of the only ones that has actually been long-term gaming cash each week. So then you have Young, McGovern, Silvani, Pitnet, Durden. Cowan outscored his break-even. I think, is that his top score for the year, Cowan? Is that his top score for the year? Yeah, it is. Yeah, he outscored his break-even by 20, so that means he's going to go up to like 330k. And then hopefully he doesn't get dropped when Sard... hopefully he's the one that gets dropped when Sard comes back, because then that'll enable me to get him off the field, I guess, and still have Pitnet there. Not Pitnet, sorry, Sin Cara there. And then, yeah, no one else here. And then we move on to St Kilda, and you have... It's basically Rowan Marshall. He did the job needed from him. I mean, there was other rucks all being talked about this week, and Darcy and English, because they had such a good start to the week, but Marshall got me what I needed. Owens is an interesting one. I just don't know about his consistency or ability to go over 100, have those huge games, because he's got a 65, 77, 77, 90, 99, 115. So really, I'm looking at this like there's 3 games here that I actually like of you, and 3 games that I don't. So I don't like that necessarily. And I don't really this year especially want to be going into mid prices at the moment at this point. Even 700k, I want to be going straight up to that 780, 800k guys, because they're the guys that are going to be grow or just grow up to that 105 average, or just going to sit at 105 if they're over 800k. Sinclair said it hundreds of times now. He is not going to be an option this year if you really want to be top end, because he's going at 94, 93, and that's just not good enough for his price tag, and he's continuing to drop. I almost got him in a couple of weeks ago, but gladly didn't. Gresham, Butler, Clark is all right, but I just don't know at his price tag if he has the ability to do anything. Steele is going to drop massively. He had a huge last quarter to save it because he tagged Cripper, and I think he'll work his way into the back into form, but lost his break even by 44, so he's going to go down to 920k, have a huge break even next week, and probably go down to 870, 880, and that's when we can pick him up. Crouch, Woods finally had a bad game, so good thing I didn't go for him as well. Ross, Membry didn't kick 5, did he? I think he kicked 1, did he? Yeah, only kicked 1, which was surprising. Hill, Byron, Stocker had another bad game, so people who brought him in as well, 5%, had a bad game. And then Philippou had not best game, but beat his break even by 30, so still an alright game, especially because, beating his break even by 30, go up to 420k. If we look at Philippou, where is he? Here he is. He takes out a 54, so I expect his break even to probably be 30 odd. And to be honest with you, he could have easily scored 65 or so there. So I still think he's a 60 scorer this year, but he probably needs some more help. He probably needed Steele to be out this week to get more of that midfield time that he could possibly get. If we look at, has he gotten any CBAs? I haven't really followed along with him and CBAs, etc. Singhoy got 42%, Hunter Clark. Philippou, none this week because Steele was back. So yeah, you sort of saw that's the case. Steele only 42%, so he's obviously building into it. So yeah. And what did Crouch do? Where's Crouch? Crouch 75, knew he'd fall off. So that's really good for me, as he was a unique that a lot of people were happy about because of the when Steele was down. But when Steele came back, he got that role refined a little bit. Had a pretty bad game, but now his break even will skyrocket and we'll see him dip. And then good thing I didn't go for Wilkie, as he finally came back down to earth and yeah, just didn't get those marks that he was expecting to get, and that's why he had such a bad score. So if I go back across here, that's my review of Carlton versus St Kilda and sort of how I'm feeling at the moment with my rookies, I guess, as I did talk about that for a couple of minutes. And I'll see you guys in another video. Thanks guys, goodbye.